repeatedly dismissed it, calling the inquiry baseless. Well, that is all happening against the backdrop of a looming government shutdown that is just 18 days away. And to talk about all of this, I spoke with Louisiana Republican Congressman Higgins, who is on the right flank of the Republican Party. Speaker McCarthy met today with the Republican conference. What did he say about the impeachment inquiry and what comes next?
Speaker McCarthy has decided that we should begin a formal impeachment inquiry to enhance the work that we've been doing on the Oversight Committee now for the balance of this year, that some of us were looking into through our own offices since really last year and before. But the impeachment inquiry gives us particular rights to request and to subpoena information and data and evidence that without the formal declaration of an impeachment inquiry, we were limited to what's called a legislative purpose. So the Oversight Committee, upon which I sit, we are leading the investigations into the Biden criminal actions, and his actions we've determined that they're impeachable, clearly impeachable. So it was time to begin a formal impeachment inquiry, and that's what Speaker McCarthy has initiated.
Well, we don't yet know whether they are indeed criminal actions. And for months, as you've been talking about, Republicans have been investigating the Bidens. They've yet to prove allegations that Biden directly profited off his son's foreign business deals. Your colleague, Congressman Ken Buck, has also said that they haven't seen any evidence linking President Biden to his son's business activities. So what do you say to members of your party and outside of your party as to whether impeachment should be on the table?
Well, you should have a clear understanding of what the constitutional parameters of impeachment are. Impeachment was never a process that was used by government to control the actions of executives that had breached the trust of the people. It has its own set of standards, and that's loosely defined in the Constitution as high crimes and misdemeanors, which actually is an old British description that was used for hundreds of years by Parliament.
You tweeted yesterday after this news, quote, "Impeach him," after we saw that announcement by Speaker McCarthy. And Speaker McCarthy, the process that he's going about is by taking this through the committees, which essentially slows this down without a floor vote. Are you happy? Are you satisfied with the way that he's handling this?
I think we should be, at this point, very aggressive. And the Speaker has chosen a judicious and cautious route. And the evidence that we've harvested and revealed has been quite shocking and incredibly condemning for the president and his family and the president's involvement primarily when he was vice president. A great deal of corrupt monies appear to have been exchanged through, we've identified 20 shell companies, millions and millions of dollars funneled into the Biden family banks through very suspicious financial transactions that six major banks have identified as laundering of money.
So but Congressman,
he's involved.
I do have to say that not everybody in your own party agrees on that. And at this stage, these are allegations, not evidence.
Well, I respect my colleagues, but I have my personal background. I was a police officer before Congress. I'm an investigator. I'm fifth in seniority on the Oversight Committee. And I've seen the evidence. I've watched it unfold. And I've looked at it very calmly through the eyes of an investigator. And although I respect my colleagues, anyone that disagrees about that we should righteously move forward with impeachment is not grasping the significance of the evidence we already have. And we're getting more. As the days and weeks unfold, our investigative effort continues and is quite productive because bank records are are like, that's like gold for an investigator. That there's no Republican bank records or Democrat bank records. It's just bank records.
I want to move on because we do have to talk about the fact that the government is due to shut down essentially if Congress doesn't take action by the end of the month. Would you support a continuing resolution to keep the government funded and give Congress more time to come up with a spending deal?
Not under the current circumstances. I would not support a continuing resolution. We require a more comprehensive agreement with leadership. When I say we, I mean the most conservative amongst us. Demand, respectfully, but we demand a larger, more conservative and comprehensive concurrence on what we shall do with the 12 appropriations bills that we have written and that we're prepared to pass, but there has to be a larger plan and strategy.
So let me ask you then about that plan. What kind of deal on federal spending do you want to see? And can Ukraine continue to rely on funding from the United States going forward?
We have agreed to 2022 spending levels, by and large. That's how the media has phrased it. It's not exactly true because we divide discretionary spending into categories that does not restrict defense spending and does not touch Social Security and VA benefits, et cetera. But basically, the Freedom Caucus, of which I'm a member, most conservative of us, we recognize that America requires a change of the trajectory of spending. We're just asking for a reasonable and wise adjustment to the trajectory of our spending. We insist upon that.
So, Congressman, should Americans then prepare for the prospect of a government shutdown?
A government shutdown is not an accurate description of what would happen. It would be a pause of non-essential services. We've reached that abyss before and stepped back from it. But this is where gentlemen of distinguished accomplishment and deep principle stand upon those core principles, and we ultimately come to an agreement. I believe that will happen. None of us want a government shutdown or a temporary pause of essential services. We don't want that, and we don't have to have that. What we require in order to avoid that is a conservative agreement on how we move forward with spending in America.
Congressman Clay Higgins, thank you for being with us.
Thank you, ma'am.